Rangers striker Derek Johnson. Morning to you, Derek. I won't say good because I doubt for you it is. How does it make you feel to see your former club and a giant in Scottish football being forced into administration?
Well, I was saddened yesterday when I heard the news. I think deep down you always knew that there was a chance of administration coming in. But actually when I read about it yesterday, I just couldn't believe it. You know, this club's been going now for 140 years. It's got a proud history. And to go into administration, and that's the way it is looking in the next 9 days, I think every Rangers fan this morning certainly will be saddened, that's for sure.
Just looking at some of the headlines in the Scottish papers, the game's up, heaven help us, the great Rangers con job. Craig White blames the former owners blame Craig White. Who do you blame?
Yeah, I think it's both of them. I think Sir David Murray, when he came in at first for Rangers, was absolutely magnificent. He's probably been the chairman of Rangers at their most successful period ever. You know, when he had the 9 in a row and they were doing well in Europe and everything else. But it went sour about 7 or 8 years ago, and the club financially has gone down since then. And he always said, David Murray, if he was going to sell the club, it would be to someone who was going to take the club forward, somebody that was going to invest in the club. And along came Craig White, and he was supposed to be the man that was going to do that. But for Craig White, that hasn't happened. He arrived at the club. The first question he was asked, Rob, was, you know, why would you want to take over a club that had a liability or a possible liability of tax? And he said, well, I've just been talking to the lawyers and they assured me that they have a great chance of winning it. They're very, very confident. So I think that cheered up a lot of Rangers supporters, that's for sure. And then he came out with, well, for Ali McCoist, I'm going to give him 20 million in the next 4 years to spend on players. And if he needs an extra 5 million in the first year, then he'll get it. That didn't happen. And then the newspapers and the television, the documentaries on him, you know, about his private life and his private business. And it wasn't too good for someone that was going to be the custodian of this football club. It wasn't good watching or reading. And I think he's used the fans as well, in my opinion, because he's now mortgaged the next 4 years of the Rangers supporters' season ticket money. You know, and he managed to pull in 24.4 million. And they reckoned, according to one of the newspapers here in Scotland, that, you know, the majority of that money went to pay off the bank, the £18 million they were due Lloyd's Bank. So basically, it's the Rangers fans themselves that have paid off the bank. So Rangers fans are not happy, I think, either with David Murray or with Craig White.
Another headline, 140 years of history in the balance. Do you understand perhaps not much sympathy for Rangers from other Scottish clubs and the feeling that Rangers perhaps have bought their success with taxpayers' money, if you like?
Absolutely, and that's the way they will look at it. I mean, if you're a Rangers fan, you don't see it that way, but for everyone else, they're getting their just desserts now, and rightly so. I mean, if Rangers can't handle their financial side of the bargain, then they deserve everything they get. But they're going to have to get out of it. Scottish football can do without a Rangers, let's make no mistake about that. It would be a one-horse race, you would have to say. But that's how we're going. But Rangers won't fold. They'll never ever fold because they've got too many people, businessmen that do have money that would save them if they were to go down that line. But there's no doubt in my mind, administration could help them. I think we're all aware of that. And you know what? Like, there's a big thing going on in Glasgow. This is Rumour City, is Glasgow. And the big picture, they're supposed to be, that this was all part of the big thing that was going to happen in Glasgow, that Craig White was going to come in, he was going to put the club into administration, the debt was going to go away, and all of a sudden there was going to be a consortium of people come in and buy the club and get it going again. Let's hope that's true. Well,
yeah, as far as Rangers are concerned, but what about Celtic's chief executive, Peter Lawwell, to come out and say, well, we don't need Rangers? How do you respond to that?
Well, that's up to Celtic. They can see what they like. I know Peter Lawwell says they're looking at the bigger picture. They want to tackle Europe and be a force in Europe again. Fine. You know, but you're still in Scotland and you still have to compete in Scotland. You know, and if Rangers are going to be short of money and they're going to have to lose players in the summer, then obviously Celtic will be the dominating force in Scotland. I think it's bad enough when people look at our country and say it's a two-horse race every year, but if it's going to be a one-horse race, I mean, who's going to watch that?
10-point penalty. It have actually no impact on the league table, will it? what about the argument that the SPL should consider a bigger points reduction?
Well, that can't happen because remember, there's 5 or 6 clubs in the SPL that are all, you know, owing big money. They're all in debt between 10 and 12 million pound. You know, if Rangers get away with that, then why the likes of Hearts and Dundee United do exactly the same thing and clear themselves of debt? But it's the SPL sides themselves that have voted for that. They're the ones that can change it if they want. If they feel that 10 points is not enough and it's an easy out for clubs, then make it stronger. It's as simple as that.
But are you worried that, of the spiral as well? If players have to go in the summer, Rangers standing in Europe and the money that brings in slides even further, therefore the debts mount up even more, it could be quite a vicious circle here, couldn't it?
Well, of course it can, and you know, we don't know what's going to happen. I think the coming weeks and months will show where Rangers are going to go from there. But you're right, you know, if the administrators come in and they decide at the end of the season that Steve Davis and Alan McGregor have got to go, you know, they need the money, then where do Rangers go from there? What they're going to have to do is they're going to have to rely on the youngsters that are coming through, which is maybe good for Scottish football, that the kids will get their chance, but it won't give Rangers chances of winning the trophies here in Scotland. And rightly, as you said earlier, if they're not in Europe, then how are they going to make their money?
Derek, there's a wind blowing around Ibrox, quite ironically. Thank you very much for joining us up there at blustery Glasgow.